harapkan boleh pakai bahasa Inggris, boleh juga pakai bahasa Indonesia. Nanti kita akan bantu translate kepada pembicaranya ya. Oke, dengan ini kita persilakan Nathan. Nathan, your turn.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine, clear.
Perfect. So I'll share my screen and then you start. But before doing that, just I would like to thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Women Indonesia, for kind of creating this event. It's really a pleasure for me to connect from this part of the world to engage with such brilliant students, as Lisa already mentioned to us, and so far east in a part of the world that I have really found so in great memories, that is Indonesia. I'll share my screen and I'll talk for 15 minutes or so, and then I'll give you the chance to ask me any questions. But again, I'm really keen to be here today and to encourage maybe more people to come to the STEM field, and why not the STEM in oil and gas as well. So, Liz, I'm just trying to find the button to share. Okay, so the middle, and then we go. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah.
Yes, clear, Nathan.
Perfect. So I'll put in presentation mode. Now you can probably see in presentation mode, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. So my name is Nathan Battisti. I'm Brazilian. I think I got that in Bahasa when Lisa was speaking, so that I was from Brazil. So maybe my Bahasa is not that bad as I thought. I'm a petroleum engineer by background, and what I'll cover here today is my journey, what I have learned, what I have done, but most importantly, how these all link from the roots I have on my story. So back in Brazil, as Lisa mentioned. So that's why I said here from Batuvira, that is the place where I was born, a very small town in South Brazil, to the world, because working in oil and gas, working energy really allowed me to travel the world, meet nice people, include those that are here today.
So sorry for interrupting. We're still in presenter view, I guess. You can search in the display setting. Yeah, swap presenter view and slideshow. Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Thank you for letting me know that. So feel free to stop me as needed. So as Lisa mentioned, I'm from Brazil. I'm from the very bottom part of Brazil, called Rio Grande do Sul. Is close and makes border with Argentina and Uruguay. And my journey starts in 1995. So you probably will guess that I am close to become 30 years old. And I always say to people, always remember where you come from, because this will help you to open your door, but it will also will always be where you go back. So as I mentioned to you before, I grew up in a farm, working in a very small village in Batuvira, Progresso, Brazil. And this is just some pictures from me. It's a very countryside part of the world, very green, hot weather in the summer and very cold in the winter. And I used to plant tobacco, and as well to kind of grow up chicken in a poultry farm, as you can see in these pictures. I grew up liking to work in the farm, but I always saw that was very kind of difficult. It was hard. It was kind of tough sometimes, and then the weather would change, and then you need to accommodate everything. So despite liking it, I start to grow interest in doing different things. And one of the things, as you probably know, and I know that Indonesia is very passionate about football as well, I tried to be a football player. It didn't work that well. So when I was like 15 years old, the window was closing for me to decide what to do at the time. And I said, oh, what should I do? What should I do? So no one in my family had gone to university at that time. And I was kind of looking for opportunities where I could live a good life, help my parents when they would retire, and at the same time have fun. So I started to look at options, and one of the options was to go to the big city, like Jakarta, not so big, but a bigger city in my state called Porto Alegre, to work in supermarkets, in the butchery, in this kind of area. But that also kind of, I could make some money, I could live quite well by doing that, but that was not what I wanted to do. So one day I was watching a television. Oh, I was actually watching a football in the television, and I saw a propaganda about Petrobras. That's the state oil and gas company in Brazil. It's very similar to Petronas in other part of the world, Pertamina in Indonesia, and so on. And I saw that big boat in the sea, and people saying that they worked there for 21 days, and they would come home for 21 days, and they would get free food while they were offshore. And I said, oh, that's quite good. Free food, free accommodation. And they said that the salary was quite good at the time. So I said, why not? So I started to explore what type of careers should I do to get in that FPSO? And that was in 2012. So I dropped my idea of being a football player. I worked very hard for 1 year with my parents in the farm so they could pay for me to travel to a place to study in a pre-university course. That's kind of to pass the test to university. University in Brazil is free. However, you need to pass a test, and that's quite a big ask, especially for me that studied in schools that were state schools, not really good, and then I kind of had to really upgrade, improve my studies to get there. That was when in 2013 I had the beginning, and I chose petroleum engineering course at Federal University of Pelotas, and I couldn't be happier. It couldn't have been a better decision. This is me. You can see I'm the second one at the bottom on my first geology trip. One thing about petroleum engineering course is that is a very unique course where you study geology, you study civil engineering, you study mechanical engineering, you study electrical engineering, chemical engineering, everything. And of course, you don't go in a deep level in all these subjects, but you understand a bit of everything. And one thing that I really loved, and I always say to my colleagues that I have part of my heart as a geologist, was because I loved to go to the geology field, to the field and get the rocks, smell the rocks to see what were the minerals in there, and as well count the particles and try to understand what happened millions of years ago to make hydrocarbons to be cooked in that reservoir. So this is the first picture. You can see this was in a volunteering type of event with friends. that we used to do a lot. So I create a lot of friendship, as you can see here. We drinking our tea. That's very common in that part of Brazil. You can see I was far younger. I had far more hair at the time. And this is me loving to measuring the rocks layers, smelling the hydrocarbons that comes out on the surface in that part of Brazil. And I started to do a lot of stuff that would make me to know more people. And one of the things was to present papers. So I started to research and present papers. Is there a question there? No? Okay. Just saw some noise. And then that was 2013. And in 2014, I joined this organization called SP, Society of Petroleum Engineers. And that was the best decision I did on my life, because this was what opened so many doors that I'll cover in a minute. We used to organize events, and all of this was by volunteers. So we would study or 60, 70 hours per week, and we would work for 10, 20 hours for the SP. SPE is an international organization, and that allows you to connect with people from all around the globe and attend events all around the globe, get access to papers, and meet a lot of very good people. So we traveled a lot. This is just an example when we went to Rio de Janeiro. So we got money from a company and from the university to travel by bus 40 hours from Rio de Grande do Sul to Rio de Janeiro in central Brazil. So 40 hours in a bus to attend a 4-day event. And that was amazing. We organized events. You can see me here sitting with the dean at my university at one of our biggest events called Petro South. And that gave me exposure to several things, and as well to one thing called Energy for Me. That is the picture at the bottom left. And the Energy for Me is very similar to the STEM ambassadors that we do today, where we go to schools, we would do like presentations about engineering, geology, petroleum, and as well we would help the local village with food, with clothes, and that was the social reason of SP. And I loved all of this. And also there were some fun moments. You can see that after several years, we got an award by the SP International for all the events, all the activities we were doing. And I was invited to attend with my friend Rosberger the celebration of the award Maracanã Stadium. That's the biggest stadium in Brazil and one of the biggest and most known in the world. As you can see, I was very happy to be there. I watched Ronaldinho Gaucho at the time. That is from my state, but I have never watched or seen him live. And I saw him that day, and it was amazing. As I said, we organized several events, and I made a lot of friends, as you see in the pictures. And in 2016, we got the most important award by the SP, and we were invited to go to Dubai. So as I couldn't go because I was in Colombia at the time studying, my friend went for us and represented us in Dubai. So imagine a couple of guys and girls from a farm in South Brazil, people from kind of a low background or poor background in terms of money, getting exposed to the world thanks to the SP. So that was great. And that was why I have been a member of SP for 12, 13 years and a volunteer for the SP. And I link this to the STEM ambassadors that Lisa, Moira, Paulus, and others in Harbor Energy work. That was when the journey took me to another place. I've never been out of Brazil by then. I was already 21 years old, and I wanted to study abroad. My English was really, really, really bad, so I didn't get any opportunity in an English-speaking country. But then, when a door closed, a window opened, and a window opened to go to Colombia. And that was wonderful, 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 wonderful. I went there to study 6 months, and that opened my eyes to the onshore potential. Because in Brazil, we always talked about oil and gas under the sea, but I didn't know much about that we could produce oil on the land, and that could be profitable. You could employ people, you could generate revenues and for the government and help the society locally. So that really opened my eyes, and I loved it. And as you can see, again, I made a lot of friends, and this was on my farewell party. That's the flag of my state, the Rio Grande do Sul. So all of these Colombians and Venezuelans that were my friends there, they joined me and we celebrated, and that was astonishing. So people that I have been until today, 10 years friends, I created there in 6 months. So all again, thanks to the petroleum engineering course and to the SP. Then I came back to Brazil. I was 21 years old. My dad, at the time, he was supporting me, but the money was scarce. It was really low money to survive. I said, oh, I need to start paying my bills. It was already 3 years or 2 years and a half that my parents were working hard in the farm to support me. And I said, oh, it's time to find a proper job. At the time, the university didn't allow you to work. You need to study 100% of the time. So I started to knock the doors and say to my professors, look, I will study part-time and I will need to work, and that's it. And that was when one day I called a company on behalf of the SP to request a sponsorship for an event. And this company that was American, based in Brazil, New Fields, they said, look, we don't have the sponsor. Unfortunately, we run out this year. However, we really liked your way of engaging, your tenacity to kind of trying to find the sponsorship for this cause. And we wanted to offer you an internship in the commercial area. That was when I went and I met brilliant people and I worked in different projects. And that was when I started to see that as a petroleum engineer, you can do whatever you want. This was a company in the environmental science. It was not an oil and gas company because at the time the oil and gas sector was in the down side. So there were no jobs for me in the oil and gas, but I opened again other windows, and that was brilliant. And I saw that as a petroleum engineer, as a geologist, if you want, you can be wherever you want. So it was great. So after that, I had an opportunity during my internship with Newfields, I learned about being an entrepreneur. So someone that creates business. And I said, oh, that would be great if I could own my own business, and especially if that was in oil and gas. And that was when I met this guy at the center here called Marcio Felix. Marcio Felix was the deputy minister for petroleum in Brazil. And he said to me, Nathan, if there is no jobs in the oil and gas industry at these big companies, why you don't create your own company? And I took that very seriously. And with other two friends, we created the startup called Plus Oil E&P, a company that was founded to buy fields from Petrobras onshore, so inland, because I knew that from Colombia, that I could have wells that produced 2, 3, 4 barrels a day and still make money with that. We kept that idea or that startup open for a year and a bit, and we started to get knocked by companies in the US. Any question? I can see some mic is open. No? Okay. So we got connected by companies in the US trying to invest in Brazil. However, again, we needed immediate funds because basically we were three poor guys that need a job to pay the bills, and we decided to park for a bit this idea and try to find a job in parallel. And that was when calling several companies, trying to create the opportunities. I called Premier Oil, and Premier Oil at the time, that now is Harbor Energy, but at the time was Premier Oil. They invited me to do a internship. So I went through the process and I passed, and I was the first internship for the company. And you can see my picture on the top when I visited that drill rig. So the same boat I saw 6 years earlier on the TV, I went to that and I saw how beautiful and how big, how huge, how much investment, how much money is put to drill a well, for example. And I love it. And at the same time, that opened another door. So I went to support this company called Petroleum that would become Origem Energia, thanks to the people I met with Premier Oil. Then I graduated, and you can see my friends playing with me as always. And that opened several doors. I went to the US to attend this landmark innovation forum in 2019. That was the first time I went outside of South America. And that was tricky to speak English, but that was really an opportunity that the company gave me to step up and break out from my silos and assume new challenges. So I went to visit this big truck for fracking with Halliburton, and then I went with Luna, that was my colleague in Brazil, and Phil Stratford, that was a great mentor from the UK, traveling Brazil. So I was kind of the one that coordinated the visit to see the tubes that we use in wells. And that was all wonderful until one day I got invited to apply for a position in Premier Oil in London. And at the time I was 23 years old. I had just 1 year and a half in Premier Oil as intern and then as engineer. And that was when I accepted. And then I came to the UK with my drink. That is a caffeine drink we drink in South Brazil. People were very receptive, very welcoming to me. And that opened several doors to go to an FPSO, this big boat in the North Sea. And that was a beautiful day, as you can see. And I'm not sure if Elisa, you remember, but I went to Indonesia and I worked for 12 days, 14 days in our offshore locations, so offshore platforms in the Natuna Sea Block A, that is 5 or 6 hours far from Jakarta. They need to take a plane and then an helicopter to go there. And that was wonderful, wonderful, meeting a lot of nice people and experience so many different and good things. And at the same time, I kept doing volunteering. I co-founded with other 3 friends the Until the Last Barrel to basically do what we are doing here today. Talk about opportunities in oil and gas, open the door for more people to come and become engineers, geologists, accountants, and all other careers that are important in our industry, because oil and gas provides 70% of the energy consumption in the world. Even with the energy addition or energy transition, we still need a lot of oil and gas. And oil and gas provide good ways of living to people, and also it's important to countries, right? So I created that organization with friends, and then we start to nurture more leaders in that front. And in 2022, at the time I was working as an engineer, going offshore as an engineer, but someone knocked the door and said, well, Premier Oil was acquired by Harbor Energy. And then we became all Harbor Energy. That's the company today. And then the opportunity came to do something different. And I remembered from the time I was with Newfields that as an engineer, you can be whatever you want. As a geologist, you can be whatever you want. So if you want to work 5 years as an engineer, travel the world, and after that you want to be work in finance, I'm sure you can do that. And the same for the other careers. And that was when I knocked some door. People told me that I was okay to pursue new challenges. And then I joined the economics area. And that was when I met and started to work closely with Lisa, Pak Riki, and all these good people from Indonesia. And I started to do economics. And I basically I started to run the economics and the support with the finance. And at the same time, I kept going to these events to talk, like the WECA, one of the most important events for energy capital in the world. And also, I started to be the chair for the STEM ambassadors in London, which I was for 2 years and a bit. So all opportunities that working in this area opportunize me. But since my start at university, a lot of people helped me to get where I was. People allowed me to stay at their home. People supported me to do several things and encouraged me. And I always tried to give back. And then you can see these are some of the events I participated to encourage students to pass knowledge, to build network, because at the end of the day, we always need to try to give back to society. So it's been a great journey as an ambassador, as a STEM ambassador, as a SP volunteer. And what I can say to you all is that this is the oil chart when you plot by year and then the oil price. And I had a lot of uncertainty, especially at your age, deciding what to do next. But if you find love, and I found love in petroleum, in oil and gas, in energy, and that's my mission to the world, is to lift people from poverty by providing more energy to people, because the world needs more energy, more oil and gas, and not less, to really flourish and get people above the good standards of living. So I found love in oil and gas, but there are several volatility moments. You can see when I was born in 95, look at the oil price, how was that? $20. And then Brazil was a world champion 2002. It's been a while now. That was when the oil started to go up. My football team, Internacional, won the Clubs World Cup in 2006 against Barcelona. I was really happy. And then I wanted to be a different career at some point in my career, but then I found love when I joined petroleum engineering. I joined the SPE. I tried to do always more than what was requested for me to do. So always going above and beyond, or trying to go above and beyond. I had crisis moments that I thought that the oil price crashed and I would be jobless, but a lot of things came up, and all my hard work and all the good people that I had on my side, they helped me, and other opportunities came up, and I went to Newfields, Premier Oil, Harbor Energy, and then started as an engineer, and after I became an economist, someone working in finance like I do today, more commercial. And then I got married, and then the oil price crashed, and now it's going up and then crashed again. But this is life. So that's why I say buy and hold. The world is volatile, but if you find something that you really nurture love and you really kind of see a purpose, you succeed and you do well. So I would say this is what I do for petroleum engineers. Enjoy your career with responsibility, because the world needs more engineers, more geologists, more people working in the energy sector, in the oil and gas sector, because the world needs more affordable, reliable, and sustainable source of energy. Thank you very much.
Nathan, before Q&A, can we take a photo first before Q&A session?
Yeah.
Ya. Adik-adik, boleh nggak kita foto dulu sebelum Q&A? Jadi tolong buka kameranya ya, biar kita ada fotonya nanti biar bisa dipajang. Sebelum kita nunggu foto, selamat malam Mbak Ines. Mana Mbak Ines?
Selamat malam teman-teman semuanya, adik-adik, and thank you for all the speaker for tonight. Thank you for helping us with this. Kasih Lisa, silakan lanjut aja dulu.
Ya, Mbak Desri bisa minta tolongin fotoin?
Bisa Mbak Lisa.
Mbak Ines.
Silakan teman-teman bisa open kameranya. Mbak Lisa, bantu hitung ya, ntar aku yang capture.
1, 2, 3. Ada lagi nggak? Ada berapa halaman?
1 slide aja Mbak. Yang open cuma 1 slide. Oke.
Oke. Nathan, there is a question from Halim. Do you have any suggestion for he is a geologist from coal mining. He wants to change the career from coal mining to oil and gas.
Yeah, no, thanks, Halim. As I said, I think if you are interested, I think definitely there are a lot of parallels. The thing is, very often when you change your career from one path or from one area to another, you need sometimes to get to the beginning and learn some other concepts. I'm not a geologist, but also I'm very passionate about that. What I would encourage you to do, if not done yet, is to engage with the SPE or the AAPG, these organizations that kind of provide more room for geoscientists in oil and gas, and try to engage on careers on those areas. And I think if you are quite recent in that journey as a coal mining, you said it about 8 months of experience. So I'm sure you can still apply to like trainee opportunities in oil and gas companies. So yeah, these would be kind of my high level comment, but I'm really happy to connect, for example, on LinkedIn and have a word later on. And so yeah, this would be my main kind of a high level comment right now.
Oke. Ada yang mau nanya lagi? Ada yang mau nanya lagi? Sebentar lagi soalnya Nathan mau meeting di tempat lain, jadi kalau yang mau nanya boleh sekarang. Boleh pakai bahasa Inggris, boleh pakai bahasa Indonesia, nanti dibantu diterjemahin.
I think, Lisa, there is a question on the chat from Yazki. About how do you bounce back from lowest point. I always say to the people I mentored that once you know your life purpose, once you recognize that, it becomes easier. And sometimes it's not easy to find what's my purpose, what makes me happy. But I found that from early on, again, connecting to my roots back in Brazil, where I used to work in the farm, and I saw my dad's tractor needing diesel day and night to produce food that would sell, to buy stuff that we could eat at home. So without diesel on my dad's tractor, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I said that I want to be able to provide more of that energy needed for the world. And that was what I always kept on my mind. I work hard and I always kind of be proud about what I do. And that was how I kind of recover from when I had lowest or lower points during my journey. And one thing that helped, and I can see this in when I went to Indonesia, people are always smiling, always happy, always talkative. This is a good thing for daily basis, because you have ups and lows, whatever the career you go for. And I think trying to be a proactive, a positive person also helps. Maybe the last one, Lisa?
Yeah. There is a question from Intan. She
Yeah.
wants to know how to start career oil and gas as a fresh grade.
Yeah. So I would say that it's really about look about the companies in your area. Try to connect and be present. Like today is a great thing. Having the LinkedIn up to date, a good professional LinkedIn, and not be afraid to connect to people and talk to people. Of course, most of companies, they have traditional ways to apply for roles, and then kind of you need to pass all the process. But knowing people is really important. So that's why I'm so glad to be here today and be making this network. And as I'm not able to cover the other question, I don't want to take the time from more and polls. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and sometimes it takes a couple of days to respond, but I will do my best to always cover. And engage with the SP locally. You have great people working there. Harbor Energy is very present in there. So for all of you that are already a graduate or finishing university, connect with your SP student chapter or the SP section. And these guys will really do a lot of things to help you to start your career. But you need to be proactive. You need to put the hand up. You need to go and connect to people, and always think about the network is a way with two kind of hands. You can take something, but you always need to give back. So this is from me, Lisa.
Okay, thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, everyone. Wish you a great rest of the day, and hope to connect you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Alright.
thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Untuk penanya yang sudah tulis, Mas Rizky sama Ramla, nanti pertanyaannya akan dijawab sama pembicara-pembicara sebelumnya, setelahnya ya. Oke, sekarang Moira, your turn.
Yeah, okay, I will just try to share my screen.
Edit.
So I'm hoping you can see my view graphs.
Yeah, you may want to put it in a presentation mode.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay, you can see it's in presentation mode. Yeah, okay.
Great.
Great. Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks to everybody for inviting me to talk on this event. Very excited about it, and I'm very happy to see that there's a lot of girls and women who are interested in engineering subjects in Indonesia. So my name is Moira Urquhart, and I've been working as a petroleum engineer. I specialized as a reservoir engineer for most of my career. And so reservoir engineering is really about looking at the subsurface aspects of oil and gas. So looking at the fields, very deep underground, looking at how best to produce them and where the wells need to go, building models. So always focused really on the subsurface. So in terms of, what I was interested when I was young, at school. So in my school days, many years ago, I enjoyed at school. I enjoyed doing mathematics, physics, and chemistry. So sciences. I enjoyed like solving puzzles and problems and applying logic to find solutions. I also, when I was young, I enjoyed reading everything, and I loved science. I loved trying to understand science and different technologies and concepts. And, at school, as I said, my favorite subjects were more maths and science. And I was really not very good at sports or musical subjects. And I wasn't very good at learning new languages. So I was really, more interested in, and I much preferred doing all the science kind of things at school. So when I was going to university, I decided to study engineering. So I went to a university in Scotland, Scotlandia, in Edinburgh. And that was a university called Heriot-Watt University. So it's like a well-known technical university in the UK. So my bachelor's degree, it was my first degree. So that was a 4-year course. I studied civil offshore engineering. So this was more about, traditional engineering, civil engineering. So like designing like road networks, bridges, looking at designing pipelines. And then the offshore part, we also did a lot of looking at different aspects on designing like oil rigs and pipelines. So the civil engineering and offshore engineering at university, the subjects that we were studying then was, structural design, things like soil mechanics, fluid mechanics, maths and physics, pipelines, like surveying, materials science, and like design and drawing. So I chose engineering at university because, I like to study like a number of different, science subjects. So as I say, at school, I liked science and maths, but I didn't want to only study one thing. I didn't want to just study maths. I didn't want to only study physics. I liked the variety, and engineering, it gave that opportunity, to study a lot of different subjects that were all related to science and were related to mathematics and were related to like solving problems and making new projects in design and construction. So during my time at university, I did an extra year. And so that extra year, I did like an internship. So I went to work for an oil company at the time for 1 full year. And so that during that year, that led me, that gave me a desire to then to want to become a petroleum engineer. So I no longer, I didn't really want to go into like the civil engineering side of what I studied, but I thought, okay, the skills that I had learned at university and with some further study, I would be able to become a petroleum engineer. And the thing I liked about that drew me to petroleum engineering was just the immense size of the projects that I got to see while I was doing an internship at university, you know, like very big projects that were being done by this company. You know, they were spending large amounts of money. It was exciting. People were flying offshore to different fields, flying in helicopters. It all quite excited me to be to get involved in petroleum engineering. So once I had completed my first degree in civil offshore engineering, I then went on to study a master's degree, and that was at the same university. So that petroleum engineering was like a one-year course that if you had like a first degree that was science, engineering, or geology based, by doing a one-year master course, it would train you, give you the additional skills to become a petroleum engineer. So it was a very intensive year. It was probably the hardest year of all my university years. It was like, you know, lectures for, you know, probably about 8 hours a day and doing like a lot of projects. But it was also one of the most enjoyable years. And so during the petroleum engineering year at university, we got to study things like geology, drilling, rock mechanics, looking at how to evaluate formations, reservoir simulation. So that would be like, you know, building like computerized models, production engineering, economics, process engineering, field development planning, reservoir engineering. So a lot of different subjects. As I say, it was very intensive. So, you know, it required a lot of work and a lot of study to be able to do all of this in a year. And also during that year, we had to do like individual projects, and we also had to do group projects. So in total, I did, you know, 5 years at university, and the 1 year internship was also an additional year. So that total was 6 years from leaving school until I was ready to start work. So then I got my first job. So as I say, that's I've been working for 33 years. So I actually started work in 1992. So now you realize that I started work before Nathan was even born. So that's quite frightening. So in my early years, my first job was with a big oil company called Shell, a very big international company. And I actually spent about 25 years working for Shell. So most of my career was with Shell. And so my first job I spent in the UK, from where I was from. And my first year I actually spent on a drilling rig. So the drilling rig, we were exploring for new oil and gas fields in the North Sea. And so we were trying to find new fields that the company could then develop. So being on the drilling rig, I was involved in all steps of drilling the well. And then once the well was drilled, we had to evaluate the well data and how the formations looked and how the fluid looked. And if we were successful, you know, if we had found some oil and gas in the field, then we would then test the well. So we would flow the well and test the well. So it was a very interesting and challenging first job. So after that 1 year, I then spent 4 years in the office in Aberdeen in Scotland. And I was working on a giant field, a very big field. It was called the Brent Field at the time. It was one of the biggest fields in the UK. And so in the office, we spent our time like planning new wells to be drilled in this field, where to drill them, how much those wells were going to produce, and then trying to optimize those wells by doing further activities on those wells, and also looking at water injection and how that would help improve the recovery. So one of the highlights, of that period, as I say, it was a giant field. That field was supplying, at the time, it was supplying 25% of the gas that was required in the UK. So, the UK, it's a small country compared to the size of Indonesia, but at that time, there were still 55 million people in the UK, and the field I was working on was supplying 25% of the gas requirements. So, it was strategically important to the whole country. So after those first few years in Aberdeen, I then relocated to the Netherlands, so Holland or the Netherlands in Europe, and that at the time was where Shell headquarters were and where they did a lot of their study work. And I had a very exciting job there. The job that I did, we worked on studies for many different oil and gas fields, and these fields were located all over the world. So we had a big study team all located in the Netherlands, and from that base, we would study these fields and make recommendations. So in being involved in these different fields, I often got to travel to many different locations. So I traveled a lot to Nigeria in West Africa, and to Syria in the Middle East. And I also got the opportunity to visit Turkmenistan. That was one of the former Soviet republics, and also to Egypt. And at that time, I loved the travel and going to these locations that you would never otherwise have the opportunity to visit. To see, to meet the people there, to see the culture, to experience, other countries. So the studies we were doing as part of that job, they were on a huge range of different fields. So it could be oil fields, it could be like dry gas fields or gas condensate fields. It could be very old fields, fields that were more than 50 years old. It could be new fields that were, only a few months old. And sometimes we even had to assess projects that the company didn't own, but maybe the company wanted to buy into a field or buy it from another company. So we were also involved in making recommendations to the company, maybe to buy into other opportunities. So after 4 years in the Netherlands, the company then offered me a job to go to New Zealand. So I spent 4 years in New Zealand. So New Zealand's very far away, farther south than Australia, so very far away from Europe. If I went home to the UK from New Zealand, sometimes it would take me about 2 days to get home. But New Zealand, I have to say, is maybe one of the most beautiful countries on earth. It's full of forests and mountains and lakes. It's just like a very beautiful country to live in. So once there, I worked on 2 new fields that the company had. And they wanted to develop these fields. So there was no platforms, there was no development wells, no pipelines. One was an oil field and one was a gas field. So my job there was doing studies to build computer models. So we built models that would represent the oil and gas fields. And then in those models, we would include all the data we had got during the exploration and appraisal stage. And using those models, we would then come up with different concepts on how best to develop the field. So we would look at different well locations, we would look at different well types, we would look at different numbers of wells. And then we would recommend the best scheme that the company should go for. And we would then say how much that scheme would then deliver in terms of how much oil, how much gas, and then how much water we would expect to get. And based on those assumptions that we were providing, we then had to also make sure that all the facilities, the platforms and the pipelines that were going to be built by the company would be the right size to be able to handle all the production that we were going to get from these fields. So it was a very exciting opportunity. New Zealand doesn't have too many oil or gas fields. So these were, again, they were very significant projects for New Zealand because, again, they were producing a lot of the oil and gas that was produced in New Zealand when these fields were brought on stream. These were quite a high percentage of what was being produced in the whole country. So we were produced, from these fields, we were getting quite a lot of the energy requirements that New Zealand needed. So that was a very enjoyable experience. So then, after 4 years in New Zealand, I then got offered a job to go to West Africa. So my next 7 years I spent in West Africa and in a small country called Gabon. So I had to live on a very small camp of houses and located in the jungle. And the only way in and out of this camp really was to go in and out on a very small aeroplane. So we weren't connected to any big cities or towns. And when I first got offered this job, I was not very sure I would enjoy it because I would be remote, I would be far away from family and friends. But I thought, okay, I decided to go and give it a year, see how I felt about it. But it turned out to be like a very wonderful 7 years, and it was just full of unique experiences. And one of the highlights there was I actually met my husband there, and he was there working for another company. So this little camp in the middle of the jungle, we always, have a lot of love for it. And we have very, very happy memories of our time there. And, you might think, okay, there's no shops, there's no restaurants. You go, well, maybe it's not for me. But, if you look at the positive things, what we loved about it was the beauty of the wildlife, the environment of the jungle, and there was mangroves and lagoons, and being far away from shops and restaurants, internet and people. So we got to experience elephants would come into our garden during the nights. We got to see hippos on the beach. We got to see whales jumping out of the water. The country had beautiful beaches and bird life was amazing. So we had a wonderful time there. And despite not being able to, go to shops or the cinema or go to restaurants, we just had to adapt and be flexible and enjoy what we could in that part of the world, because we will never have the same opportunity again to enjoy those things. So after 7 years in Gabon, so in my next 5 years, we went to Oman in the Middle East. And Oman is a fabulous country full of absolutely beautiful deserts and hills and mountains. And we loved the opportunity to travel and camp in the stunning deserts. And you see the car there, we bought like a fabulous car for this. We bought a Jeep and it had a camper on top of the roof. And we used to enjoy going at weekends wonderful camping trips. And we also got to do a lot of scuba diving in Oman, and we were able to do all our training there and enjoy all the wonderful marine life that you can see there. So the project I was involved in Oman, it was also a very exciting new project for the company. And that was using hydraulic fracking to help produce gas. And we were looking at producing gas from some of the oldest and the deepest rocks in the world. So these rocks in Oman, they're in some cases were more than like about 5,000 meters deep, so 5 kilometers underground. And they were some of the oldest rocks in the world. So these rocks actually don't have fossils in them because the rocks actually came before there was any animals or any life on Earth. So the rocks were very old. So this was a new technology for the company at the time. So we had to learn what worked well and what did not. And we were doing like field trials in the deserts to look at different options and testing their impact on the production to come up with, the best operations and the best way to hydraulically frack wells to come up with productive gas fields. And so after 5 years in Oman, in 2016, we moved back to the UK. And that was mainly because I needed to go home to look after my father. By then, he was over 90 years old. So it was getting quite hard for him to be able to get around and to, basically to go shopping. And he couldn't also hear very well. So we thought, okay, better let's go home and make sure everything is good for him and that he's, able to live an easier life. So back in the UK at that point, I carried on working for Shell, but then in 2017, I moved to Harbour Energy. So with Harbour Energy, I worked in the UK until 2022. And then Harbour Energy, then they offered me the opportunity to relocate to Jakarta. And then, so in Jakarta, I've been working on new gas fields, one in the Natuna Sea and one in the Andaman Sea. And these are projects that Harbour very keen to develop and bring new oil and gas to Jakarta. So they're very important projects for Indonesia and also for Harbour Energy. So we both, my husband and I, we both love Indonesia a great deal. And we've been able to enjoy more of the scuba diving that we previously had learned in Oman. And so we absolutely love the opportunities that we've had to travel all over Indonesia and take part and be able to scuba dive in many different places. And I think Indonesia, most scuba divers think that Indonesia is the best country in the whole world for scuba diving. It's absolutely incredible. So 33 years, that is my career. So what, it's trying to think maybe what were some of my learnings and what advice, based on my experiences that I can give you. So I would say, think about what you enjoy at school. What do you find fun and rewarding? Maybe what careers may include those things that you enjoy most. And sometimes, people may not always be supportive of your choices initially. As an example, my parents were quite shocked when I told them I wanted to study engineering. And they were very surprised that I didn't want to do geography or some other subject, and they thought engineering was more like a man's world and that I would find it maybe too challenging to work with men all the time and to be able to manage them. But I was, quite determined. So all I can say, if you feel that kind of opposition or people are not supporting you, just try to maybe communicate your thoughts and feelings and try to persuade them that, what you're thinking, it's the right thing for you. So build, your confidence, and know that, if you're doing well in exams at school and university, you are good enough and you are very able. If you're getting good grades in maths and science, and if you're at university, you're getting good grades, then you will be good enough to be an engineer. And, sometimes you think other people are smarter than you and they're more confident than you. But there's no reason, why they're better than you. So, you're as good as them as long as you're like working hard and getting the good grades. So it's okay, work hard at school and university. What you achieve at school and university, it sticks with you your whole life. So wherever you go after you leave school and university, when you're trying to get a job or change job, people always look back to see, what did you achieve at school? What did you achieve at university? So that's the time that you need to be working and studying hard. So other advice, so you can find opportunities at school and university to join professional organizations and societies. So Natan mentioned SBE, which is a terrific organization. So those kind of professional societies and organizations, they really help build your network of people. They allow you to meet different people. They maybe give you contacts with companies. And you also learn how to maybe organize technical events and social events. So it gives you extra skills in terms of organization, planning, and managing events. So while at university, you can also try to look for opportunities, in your vacation times, or if you want to take a year out, look for internship opportunities as much as you can. So as the more experience you can gain while you're studying in terms of getting exposure to real company or real job, that will always help you in terms of getting a future job. And, find your voice. So learn to present well and be loud and clear. And, maybe training courses and plenty of practice. So make sure that, that your voice is heard and that your presentations are as good as they can be. And be flexible and open to new opportunities. So sometimes maybe you think you will not enjoy something. I wasn't sure I would enjoy going to Africa and living in the jungle. And it turned out to be one of the most wonderful, life-changing experiences that I had. So when you are working during your career, be happy in your work. If you enjoy technical work, find opportunities to remain technical. Often we're taught to be ambitious, but you don't have to be the CEO of a company. You don't have to be a manager. Success comes in different forms. So if you're happy doing technical work, if you're happy to be an engineer, look for opportunities that, will make you happy. If you do become an engineer, be reliable. You have to be accurate and just deliver everything to your best efforts, because your decisions can impact safety and it can impact on people's lives as well. And in terms of, managing, work-life balance, try to find good companies to work for, who value your contribution and look after their staff well. When my father became unable to look after himself, my company was very good in relocating me from Oman to UK, and they offered me a job in the UK, and I was able to carry on my career and still be able to go back home to look after my father. So that worked out well. And my last point there, so engineering, I'd say, it's not just for men, engineering is for everyone. So if you enjoy technical puzzles, challenges, applying logic, if you love sciences and maths, engineering is for you. So male or female, it doesn't matter. There is no difference. So you're all very capable. You're all equally capable. If you do become an engineer, you will have a life that's, being involved in like projects, either locally or globally. And a lot of the time, those projects, can be very big projects. They impact people's lives and they help countries develop to an improved economy. And I think my last slide there is just wishing you all good luck in your decisions and in your studies and in your future careers. So I think that's my contribution. Thank you. If
You're muting, Bulisa.
Yeah, unmute. Yeah.
Is there any best strategy for switching from mechanical engineer to switch career to subsurface without being petroleum engineer background?
Yeah, I would say that it may depend on how many years you've been working as a mechanical engineer. If you're still quite young, maybe you can go back to university and study some petroleum engineering. If if that's not an option, I would say like joining a SPE society that will help you to meet people and will help you meet companies, and then that will help you build your network, and then you can maybe look for opportunities, maybe some kind of internship, or maybe some kind of a temporary job where you can maybe start to show your skills and start to develop your skills. And also, SPE, they also often do workshops and courses that you can get involved in. So I would say basically, definitely be involved in the SPE as a starting point. And if there's any way that you can get a temporary job or an internship job that gives you exposure to petroleum engineering, so that you can show that you've done some work on petroleum engineering, then that will make companies more interested in you, because you've already got some skill, or some subjects or some areas that you're able to talk on and show that you've been able to handle quite well.
Another question from Ramla. How do you measure satisfaction as petroleum engineer?
A good question. Yeah, I would say, in terms of personal satisfaction, how happy I feel, if I feel that I've delivered a project on time with good results, and that makes me feel very satisfied. Also, when we're planning a well and drilling a well, the very exciting day is when we first start to produce that well. And if that well comes on production, at some very good rate, or if it comes on a rate in line with how you've predicted, you always, that is a real highlight, and that is like a very satisfying day. Also, if you're working on big fields, new fields, the day that a field first starts producing oil or gas is a great day, and that can be a number of years after you've done the study work, you know, because it takes time to build the facilities and the pipelines. So often you will have moved to like a different job or even a different country, but it's always thrilling to look back on the projects that you've worked on and see the point when you know, what day did they come on stream, how much did they produce, was it in line with your forecast, and that always gives you, you know, a lot of satisfaction if you're right. So yeah, I would say that, yeah, those are the most, this seeing projects come to fruition and making like good contribution both to the company and to the country that they're producing in.
Okay, one more question before we go to Pak Paul. Have you ever thought changing your job after 33 years? How do you manage keep working at what you love?
Yeah, well, you know, because I've had such a varied career and been worked in many different places on many different projects, it's always been interesting. So, but you know, to be honest, when I was working in the UK, just before I came to Indonesia, at that point, I was, you know, I had worked maybe 30 years. I think, okay, it's maybe time to finish and retire and, you know, go and do other things. But then when the company offered me a job in Indonesia, we were so excited to come here and work on these new projects that we really wanted, you know, to come here and enjoy that opportunity. And we've absolutely loved it here. And yeah, so, you know, maybe once this job finishes, once my time in Indonesia finishes, then yeah, I would probably at that point I will think, okay, that's my career finished. I feel happy and time to go and do other activities.
Okay, thank you, Moira.
Thank you. Thank you very
There
much.
is one question. I hope you will answer by replying in written. Okay. Pak Paul, it's your turn.
Oke, selamat malam. Coba saya share saya punya screen. Bisa nggak ya? Oke. Bisa dilihat ya?
Bisa.
Okay, I put it on the presentations. Thanks, Nathan and Mara, for a very inspirational story of a petroleum engineer life. Selamat malam, para sahabat Women in Mining and Energy dan juga STEM Ambassador. Terima kasih juga atas undangannya dan rekan-rekan sahabat lain yang hadir pada Zoom pada malam hari ini. Saya dititipin pesan oleh panitia supaya saya mempersiapkan sharing saya yang bisa semoga bisa memberikan inspirasi dan motivasi dari kehidupan seorang petroleum engineer, dan mudah-mudahan hal yang saya beberkan dalam 2 slide ini bisa memberikan sedikitnya inspirasi dan motivasi. Setidaknya itu dari sisi cerita saya selama 3,5 tahun di Petroleum Engineering School Academic dan 39 tahun di industri. Oke, jadi perkenalkan saya Paul Wahyudin. Saya sekarang ini di Harbor Energy Indonesia sejak tahun 2019 sebagai Senior Operations Excellence Specialist. Itu adalah satu advisory roles untuk meyakinkan sustainability dan improvement dari safe, reliable, and efficient operations kita. Okay. Namun sebelumnya karir saya itu Itu saya mulai dari Arco sejak tahun 86. Setelah lulus saya dari USC, dari Petroleum Engineering di tahun 86. Kemudian dengan merger antara Arco dan BP tahun 99, saya kemudian bergabung dengan BP hingga 2017. Kemudian saya mengambil early retirement dan melakukan aktivitas organisasi, mengisi kekosongan kesibukan saya setelah out of work, itu di bidang Chambers of Commerce, sebagai Vice President dan juga Advisory Board untuk World Chamber of Commerce Texas, semuanya di Houston, dan juga sebagai founder dan advisory board member untuk Society of Indonesian Energy Professionals di Houston. Saya selama masa managerial role saya sempat kemudian menggeluti dan mendapatkan mengambil pengayaan diri dengan degree MBA dari Monash University. Jadi itu adalah latar belakang saya, dan sebentar lagi saya akan ceritakan dari mana kehidupan petroleum engineering saya dan keterlibatan saya di oil and gas industry dimulai. Jadi saya akan mulai dengan where it all began. Jadi saya judulkan ini sebetulnya mengatakan Grace Beneath the Ground, karena oil itu adalah dari bawah ya, dari bawah bumi gitu ya. Tetapi itu membentuk keajaiban atau miracle dalam kehidupan saya sebagai petroleum engineer hingga sekarang sebagai advisor dari beberapa hal. Jadi saya berasal dari Makassar, Sulawesi Selatan, dibesarkan hidup di tengah-tengah keluarga yang sangat sederhana. Jadi humble beginnings buat saya kehidupannya. Jadi mungkin tidak banyak orang yang bisa melewati itu dan juga kemudian berhasil. Ya, jadi ini yang saya sebutkan kenapa judul saya mengatakan miracles, karena this is a miracle of my life. Ya, awalnya sebetulnya saya itu ingin menjadi militer. Saya sempat mendaftar menjadi akabri. Ya, tetapi kemudian selama proses tes itu kemudian saya sempat mengikuti tes perguruan tinggi di Universitas Hasanuddin, dan saya lulus di situ untuk jurusan civil engineering. Itu kemudian dengan dorongan orang tua juga mengatakan lebih bagus masuk di sekolah teknik aja daripada masuk menjadi militer. Kemudian saya ikut di civil engineering, dan itu juga sebetulnya civil engineering sesuatu yang merupakan aspirasi saya. Sulawesi Selatan yang daerah pantai gitu, saya senang melihat bagaimana pelabuhan itu kemudian ada jembatan bisa terbangun. Jadi saya mempunyai mimpi bahwa mungkin setelah saya menyelesaikan civil engineering saya kemudian bisa memberikan kontribusi bagi pembangunan daerah saya gitu. Sedangkan untuk militer, tadi akabri itu sebetulnya latar belakang saya suka olahraga. Saya consider myself an athlete gitu ya, sampai menjelang usia dewasa selanjutnya saya malah sempat menjadi kompetitif atlet untuk volleyball gitu. Jadi itu all begin. Yang Bu Lisa mengatakan saya seseorang petroleum engineer yang sebetulnya awalnya itu aspirasinya tidak ke sana gitu. Tapi kenapa kemudian petroleum engineering? Ya, nah kemudian ada kesempatan saat itu, saya tingkat 2, tahun kedua, ada penerimaan scholarship dari Pertamina. Ingat nih, tahun 80-an Pertamina itu semua orang mau diasosiasikan dengan Pertamina. Ya, jadi begitu ada kesempatan untuk penyeleksian penerimaan beasiswa, saya tidak berpikir 2 kali. Saya langsung mengambil tes, dan prosesnya cukup panjang dan lama, dari sekitar 200 partisipasi rekan-rekan tingkat 2, karena syaratnya tingkat 2 itu kami bertiga, long story short, 3 orang kami diterima untuk program beasiswa itu. Kemudian kami dididik untuk di Jakarta, dikirim ke Jakarta untuk bahasa dan mempersiapkan kami untuk masuk kuliah di universitas di Amerika. Kemudian menjadikan saya bersekolah Petroleum Engineering di University of Southern California di Los Angeles. Nah, kemudian selama kuliah, kemudian di situ di mana benar-benar pressure, bukan hanya culture shock karena hidup sendiri jauh dari tanah air, tapi kemudian terjadi adjustment dan bisa menyesuaikan diri, asimilasi dengan kehidupan sehari-hari. Belajar yang keras, benar-benar ya. Saya melihat memang antara civil engineering saya dengan petroleum engineering saya itu baca bukunya bukan main banyak di US itu. Kemudian tugas-tugasnya baik individual maupun grup itu benar-benar banyak. Jadi memang menyita banyak waktu. Tetapi kemudian di sela-sela waktu yang ada, saya kemudian masih juga tetap meluangkan waktu untuk bekerja di kampus. Ya, sekedar untuk mencari pengalaman. Dan di belakang hari saya baru menyadari bahwa bekerja di kampus itu setidaknya membangun disiplin saya gitu. Sebagai seorang individu, karena bangun jam 5 pagi untuk pergi kerja gitu, naik sepeda, di samping harus memikirkan ujian, kuis, belajar, membaca buku dan sebagainya, tetapi kemudian tanggung jawab untuk tugas kerja itu tetap saya jalankan gitu. Di dalam kuliah, bersyukur bahwa saya mungkin dengan belajar dengan bersungguh-sungguh, kemudian cukup memberikan saya prestasi akademik yang bagus sehingga bisa masuk ke dalam komunitas Petroleum Engineering Honor Society di US itu namanya National Honor Society Pi Epsilon Tau ya, khusus untuk Petroleum Engineering ya. Kemudian saya juga aktif di dalam SPE Student Chapter. Tadi Nathan dan Muara sempat menyebutkan tentang SPE, Society of Petroleum Engineer, tapi kita di kampus, saya yakin di Indonesia juga ada SPE Student Chapters, dan saya juga aktif di dalam Persatuan Mahasiswa Indonesia Amerika Serikat, malah saya sempat menjadi wakil ketua ya di LA. Kemudian saya juga aktif di USC International Student Assembly. Jadi saya tidak melepaskan seluruh opportunity yang saya miliki selama kehidupan kampus saya di US sampai saya menyelesaikan kuliah saya sebagai petroleum engineer. Kemudian karena scholarship, kemudian saya harus balik ke Indonesia untuk bekerja dan kemudian ditempatkan di ARCO. Nah, di karier inilah di ARCO di tahun 86 saya mulai sebagai petroleum engineer, sebagai petroleum economics, kemudian menjadi production technologies engineer. Kemudian menjadi field operation engineer, well service engineer, kemudian pergi kerja di offshore di Laut Jawa. Saya meniti karir saya mulai dari petroleum engineering sampai ke operations, sampai ke arah line management, ya, dan berganti-ganti fungsi di dalam karir saya. Kemudian saya juga sempat mendapat kesempatan untuk expanding melalui multi-level experience sampai ke line management position ya, hingga sampai sekarang boleh dikata dengan 39 tahun di industri, hal yang saya lakukan adalah sebagai advisory role ya. Nah, living the dream but staying grounded, artinya saya sudah mengecap demikian banyak good old days, petroleum engineering dan oil and gas industries, tetapi kemudian saya tetap dengan masa yang panjang itu tetap mengingat bagaimana saya merasa terpanggil untuk komit menyumbangkan diri dengan segala pengalaman dan pengetahuan yang saya miliki untuk membangun, tetap mensustain pembangunan industri perminyakan ya, locally maupun globally. Jadi sepulang dan waktu saya sambil kerja, saya tetap aktif di SPE di Indonesia, Java Section. Kemudian saya juga aktif di dalam Ikatan Ahli Teknik Perminyakan Indonesia, IATMI, sempat menjadi chairman dari Jakarta, IATMI. dan juga pengurus pusat YATMI, dan juga aktif menjadi mentor di perusahaan sekarang maupun di rekan-rekan di industri, karena dunia minyak itu dunia kecil. Kita bisa saling kenal, mungkin tahun graduate-nya itu kapan itu yang berbeda. Tapi kemudian sekali kita ketemu, nanti dalam berbagai event kita akan ketemu lagi. Ya, dan sekarang seperti saya katakan tadi, menjadi advisory role di harbor, dan juga di rekan-rekan di luar harbor yang sering kita melakukan pembicaraan bersama-sama secara komunitas untuk berbagi pengalaman kita tentang industri minyak dan gas, baik di Indonesia maupun di globally, ya, di rekan-rekan kami di Qatar, di US, Texas, southern part of Texas, US, itu banyak orang-orang minyak yang kita sama-sama bertukar pendapat, bertukar pengalaman. Jadi ini adalah journey kehidupan saya, dan yang saya bisa simpulkan dari perjalanan saya 3,5 tahun kuliah, 39 tahun industri sampai sekarang, itu mengatakan bahwa background kita itu tidak selalu harus mendefine di mana kita berakhir. Seperti saya katakan tadi, aspirasi saya awalnya bukan petroleum engineering. Petroleum engineering itu kalau saya pun ada, itu mungkin mimpi. Karena di tahun 80-an, minyak, orang bekerja di minyak itu dikatakan wah, gitu. Malah dikatakan gajinya dolar dan sebagainya, gitu. Jadi mempunyai tempat yang cukup baik di global career maupun di local career. Tapi if a door won't open, kata orang, knock on the windows. Kebetulan saya dapat kesempatan scholarship yang membuat miracles dalam kehidupan saya. Tetapi kalaupun seandainya, pengalaman rekan-rekan sekalian, kalau seandainya pintu maupun jendela tidak terbuka, maka masih ada kesempatan. Start building your own career, your path. Jadi ini bukan akhir dari segala-galanya. Saya cuma mengatakan bahwa kisah hidup saya ini boleh dikata buat saya happy ending, tetapi mungkin tidak banyak orang yang bisa mempunyai pengalaman yang sama, tetapi kita tidak harus merasa kecewa dan kemudian in despair, karena opportunity is so big out there. Okay. Nah, last slide saya mau menceritakan sedikit tentang ini adalah cerita saya. Mungkin bukan cerita banyak orang, tapi ini pendapat saya yang saya rasakan selama 39 tahun di dalam career oil and gas industries. Jadi, in reality, sebagai petroleum engineer, menurut saya sebagai petroleum engineer itu adalah satu role atau career yang solves the real world energy challenges. Ya, kita bisa bayangkan kalau seandainya petroleum engineers tidak ada. Saya yakin mobil tidak akan jalan di jalanan. Kita tidak akan melihat penerangan lampu yang sekarang. Hospitals akan gelap, ya. Transportation akan mati. Kemudian industri akan sangat-sangat lambat kalau tidak bisa dikatakan tidak ada. Gitu. Harbor Indonesia menerangi Singapura dengan gasnya. Laut Jawa menerangi Jakarta dengan gasnya melalui Tanjung Priok dan Muara Karang. Ya, jadi boleh dikata problem yang dilakukan, dampak yang diberikan oleh seorang petroleum engineer adalah memberikan opportunity economy dan energy security, dan juga menciptakan geopolitik yang positif. Nah, yang kedua, we are at the heart of the energy transition. Dengan banyak dinamika industri perminyakan, sekarang timbul, rekan-rekan sekalian mungkin pernah mendengar carbon capture storage, ya. Itu satu bidang di bidang perminyakan yang sekarang mau digalakkan untuk menunjang clean energy kita. Kemudian ada geothermal energy juga menunjang clean energy kita. Kemudian tentunya cleaner extraction methods, ya. Jadi masa depan kita itu kita tidak boleh katakan no oil. Yang kita katakan adalah masa depan kita itu adalah dengan smarter, cleaner oil and diversified energy. itu yang akan kita sumbangkan bagi society kita. Nah, sebagai petroleum engineer, seharusnya saya tentunya, kalau saya seandainya bisa balik lagi 30 tahun yang akan datang, saya akan merasa saya menjadi bagian dari transformasi dan juga tidak hanya menjadi bagian dari tradisi minyak dan gas, industri minyak dan gas itu. Nah, yang ketiga, high demand and high reward. Seperti saya sebutkan tadi, energi itu adalah basic need, ya. Jadi petroleum engineer itu akan mempunyai high demand, ya, sampai sekarang. Oke. Salary levels saya sebutkan tadi, tahun 80 kalau kita menyebutkan Anda kerja di mana, di Pertamina atau disebutkanlah perusahaan-perusahaan multinational companies oil and gas, itu orang biasanya mengatakan wah, itu dengan respon seperti itu memang kenyataannya memang di antara rata-rata waktu itu, dan saya yakin sampai sekarang itu adalah it's a top salary levelnya itu lumayan top gitu di antara engineer yang lain, ya. Nah, kemudian skill set petroleum engineer ini versatile, jadi bisa menjadi memikul beban atau melakukan karier di bidang lain. Misalnya data science, di finance, consulting, and sustainability. Dan banyak rekan-rekan kita yang ke arah sana gitu. Malah ada yang juga ke banking itu. Walaupun tadi ada pertanyaan tentang bagaimana orang yang non-petroleum engineering mencoba masuk menjadi reservoir engineer. Dan itu juga banyak. Saya bisa mengatakan banyak rekan saya yang jurusan physics, chemical engineer, ya, mathematics, itu dijadikan petroleum engineer. Tetapi seperti yang Muara katakan, company jadinya spending more extra resources untuk menjadikan seorang non-petroleum engineer menjadi petroleum engineer. Tapi itu doable dan itu terjadi. Dan yang keempat adalah dynamic dan global career opportunities. Muara menceritakan bagaimana dia dari UK, Scotland, ke Gabon, Afrika, Netherlands, kemudian ke negara lain, akhirnya ke Indonesia. Itu hal yang terjadi. Itu yang terjadi dengan saya dari Jakarta, Laut Jawa, kemudian pergi ke Amerika, sempat ke Inggris, sempat ke Amerika, expatriate assignment dari 2006 sampai 2018 kemarin, ya, dan bisa mempunyai kesempatan untuk melihat dunia, boleh dikata, ya. Jadi itu adalah harusnya, dan itu menjadi sebetulnya bagi saya itu saya tidak melihat dari awalnya, tapi kemudian itu menjadi byproduct dari pemilihan saya ada di dalam petroleum engineering world gitu. Challenging, always evolving, sama dengan kita di setiap sumur itu berbeda-beda. Setiap hari kita akan bertemu dengan hal-hal yang challenging. Jadi very challenging and dynamic. Ini yang menjadikan orang yang suka aktif itu akan sangat energized untuk hal tersebut. Ya, strong community network. Ya, kita mempunyai komunitas SPE, YATMI di lokal. Ya, itu demikian close knit society and communities. Dan menjadikan dunia kita ini demikian rame dan interesting, karena setiap kita ketemu kemudian kita saling bertukar pengalaman, hasil penelitian, temuan-temuan dan sebagainya yang kita bisa share, kemudian kita bisa aplikasikan di mana kita bekerja gitu. Nah, jadi ini adalah menjadi daya tarik saya, walaupun banyak diantaranya menjadi byproduct yang saya kemudian temukan hanya setelah menjalani profesi sebagai petroleum engineer background. Nah, tentunya yang terakhir, ada mitos dan kita sering dengar. Wah, minyak akan habis, zero emission, nggak akan ada lagi minyak hidrokarbon, nggak akan dibutuhkan. Ya, yang saya mau katakan, transition kepada clean energy itu tidak sama dengan eliminasi dari hydrocarbon needs for the global world gitu. Nomor satu, in reality, transition itu akan gradual. Ya, terjadinya gradual, tidak langsung berhenti tahun 2030 kita berhenti sama sekali mendrill, menghasilkan minyak dan seterusnya. In reality, it's not gonna be like that gitu. Jadi trust me, petroleum engineering they still be needed in there. Versatility yang seperti keberagaman di mana kemudahan untuk pindah ke profesi disiplin yang lain, menjadi geophysicist atau yang lain itu terbuka lebar, ya. Karena apa yang kita pelajari di sekolah itu kan tentang ability kita untuk berpikir berpikir logik, ya, kritis gitu, ya. Itu membangun technical, analytical, dan theoretical foundations kita untuk bisa menjadi sukses di bidang yang lain. Kalau seandainya kemudian petroleum engineering sesuatu yang kemudian dijadikan sebagai awal aja untuk pindah ke tempat lain. Kemudian energy security, seperti saya katakan, petroleum remains essential. Saya tidak melihat kehilangan energy security, kehilangan petroleum dalam kehidupan kita di dalam waktu yang pendek ini. Kemudian kesempatan tentang technology evolution di dalam dunia perminyakan, di mana kita diminta untuk mentransform industri minyak kita dengan segala teknologi yang ada, dengan AI, dengan automation dan cleaner energy cleaner extraction methods, petroleum engineer akan menjadi enabler atau pelaku dari proses transformasi ini. Nah, demikian yang saya bisa share, mudah-mudahan memberikan inspirasi dan motivasi bagi para sahabat untuk mencoba mengintip dunia petroleum engineering lebih kompleks lagi. Ibu Lisa.
Terima kasih Pak Pom. Nih ada beberapa pertanyaan, tapi satu pertanyaan dari saya dulu ya. Saya pengen tanya, kalau seandainya ada orang mau switch career, misalnya dari S1-nya bukan petroleum engineer, bisa nggak langsung S2-nya petroleum engineer?
Oke. Tergantung petroleum engineer-nya apa gitu ya. Karena biasanya kalau sudah master S2 itu kemudian ada subjek yang mau dikatakan. Anda mau reservoir, Anda mau drilling, Anda completion apa gitu. Nah, biasanya kalau itu kemudian mereka diminta untuk mengambil beberapa subjek, ya, subjek yang dibutuhkan untuk jurusan itu, ya. Itu sebetulnya itu demi kesuksesan juga menyelesaikan S2-nya, jadi semacam prerequisite. Banyak kampus melakukan seperti itu. Bisa.
Ada pertanyaan dari Ramla, apa saja standar dan kemampuan dasar secara moral maupun material dalam meniti karir sebagai engineering?
That's $1 million question. Kita harus tahu dulu nih, meniti karir engineer, karena di dalam karir itu kan banyak penilaian performance kita itu, atau kita sendiri menilai itu kan dari sisi technical ada, ya, kemudian dari sisi non technical itu adalah bagaimana we present ourselves as a individual performer, ya, di mata kolega, di mata supervisor kita, atau kalau kita menjadi leader di mata direct reports kita. Dan nah, kalau dari sisi technical udah jelas, gitu kan, bagaimana kita mempresentasikan sesuatu sesuai dengan ekspektasi, ya kan. Tadi sempat dikatakan bagaimana job satisfaction seorang reservoir engineer. Kalau saya melihatnya, kalau saya reservoir saya yang saya analisa, kemudian lakukan stimulasi dan sebagainya, studi, kemudian benar-benar menghasilkan apa sesuai dengan apa yang saya presentasikan, maka itu adalah satu performance prestasi yang saya anggap tepat gitu. Dan itu juga akan dilihat oleh supervisors, management, maupun perusahaan di mana kita bekerja. Nah, kalau yang non-technical, nah itu ada juga penilaian non-technical. So, untuk menjadi sukses seorang engineer, kalau seandainya teknikalnya ya seperti saya katakan tadi, tapi jangan salah, di dalam karier ada juga non-technical measures yang harus kita penuhi sebagai individual ya. Dan itu mungkin ada satu masa Zoom session lagi nih kalau non teknikal gitu kan. Ya. Mudah-mudahan menjawab ya pertanyaannya ya.
Ada pertanyaan lagi mengenai apa keputusan Bapak, apa dasar keputusan Bapak setelah dari Petroleum Engineer itu sambil S2-nya Business Administration?
Ya, saya nggak tahu. Saya sempat sebutkan tadi, sebetulnya itu saya pada waktu menginjak di managerial role, kemudian saya merasakan bahwa saya harus meningkatkan kemampuan manajerial saya. Dan saya melihat salah satu tempat di mana saya bisa menimba ilmu, memperkaya diri, memperluas horizon saya berpikir dalam how to manage a team atau bagaimana menjadi a good manager dan leader dalam company, maka saya melihat MBA itu was one of it. Itu yang mendorong saya kemudian mengambil MBA. Karena tuntutan pekerjaan gitu dan keinginan saya untuk perform.
Oke. Satu pertanyaan lagi dong, Papa. Ini dari saya lagi. Kapan seorang petroleum engineer meniti jalur struktural atau profesional? Kalau misalnya kalau struktural kan bisa lebih panjang ya masa kerjanya. Tapi kalau struktural, apakah itu terbatas atau enggak? Kapan gitu?
Saya seseorang yang boleh dikata yang meniti kedua hal tersebut. Saya sempat di struktural, saya sempat menjadi petroleum engineering manager ya di dalam karier saya. Dan saya kemudian sebagai background dengan petroleum engineering kemudian bisa menjadi meniti karir sebagai membawa advisory roles gitu ya, menjadi advisory roles dalam perusahaan di banyak bidang, di bidang operasi, di bidang keselamatan, ya, di bidang supply chain, dan pemilihan itu kalau menurut saya kayaknya kita yang milih ya. We determine our future gitu. Saya mau share pengalaman saya. Ini di dalam kehidupan karir saya selalu mengatakan setelah menjalani karir satu posisi 2 tahun, kemudian saya berpikir untuk posisi yang lain. Bahwa kemudian saya tidak mendapatkannya nggak apa-apa, tapi kemudian saya mempunyai visi di dalam tahun kedua saya harus berpikir untuk memikirkan tantangan baru dalam karir saya gitu. Dan syukur-syukur banyak dalam karya saya itu bisa terjadi gitu.
Terima kasih Pak Pol atas waktunya malam ini. Mbak Desri.
Yes, Mbak.
Ya, udah Mbak Desri. Ya.
Terima kasih Pak Paul atas sharing pengalamannya yang luar biasa selama 39 tahun ya. Juga Moira. Thank you so much. Mungkin untuk menutup Mbak Lisa ada closing statement dari Pak Paul dan Moira.
Papa, ada closing statement?
Ladies first. Ibu Moira, is she still there?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, still here. Yeah, closing statement. Okay. Yeah, it's been great taking part in this and also hearing from my colleagues about their career paths. So I think you can see that we all have a similar experience in some ways. We're all very enthusiastic and very positive about the career and the opportunities that we've been lucky enough to be offered. So, petroleum engineering, it's a wonderful opportunity. It can be very diverse. You can work on many different types of projects. It uses a lot of different skills. So, you can be technological, you can be managing, you can be involved in economics, you can be involved in operations. It's like big variety of things. So you don't get stuck in the same type of job for 5-10 years. There's normally opportunities to move around within, even if you're just within one company, there's always a variety of different projects, different types of work. And it's challenging. And most of all, you make a big impact to the locality or where you're working or the country that you're working in. And sometimes, you may have the opportunity to work on some of the biggest projects that a country has, so what other job or what other career can offer you that? And as Nathan says, oil and gas is hugely important to all countries, even when we're trying to develop renewable type projects. Most oil and gas companies also have a number of renewable type projects that they're also trying to develop and get off the ground. So you within an oil and gas company, you have that opportunity to also get involved in those type of projects. But I just say anybody who wants a career in petroleum engineering, just go for it. It's been a wonderful opportunity for me. So I would encourage everybody, especially some girls, please go and chase after that dream. You can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Papa?
Alright, sebagai seorang coach dan mentor sama mungkin dengan Coach Lisa dan Coach Desri ya, it's always energizing to be around young people. Itu yang saya rasakan malam ini, gitu ya. Dan terima kasih yang telah diberikan kesempatan kepada saya oleh Women in Mining and Energy dan juga oleh STEM untuk sharing kehidupan saya baik tentang study maupun karir selama saya di oil and gas industries. Pesan saya kepada rekan-rekan sekalian yang mudah-mudahan terinspirasi atau termotivasi untuk mencoba mengintip dunia petroleum engineering lebih serius adalah jadikan petroleum engineering study Anda untuk membuild technical, analytical, dan theoretical foundation Anda untuk menjadi bekal untuk mendevelop technical knowledge Anda di industri, people skills Anda di sekitar organisasi, decision making dan adaptability Anda di dalam membangun perusahaan di mana Anda berkarir, dan tentunya bagi negara kita yang sekarang ini kan produksi kita sekitar 580-600 barrel oil per day, yang kita butuhkan itu sebetulnya sekitar 1,6. Jadi we need all experts in the industry to help the nation build the energy for our use, for our consumption. Itu pesan saya. Dan mudah-mudahan tidak lama lagi kita akan ketemu dengan rekan-rekan yang hadir pada malam hari ini, kemudian muncul di tengah-tengah industri perminyakan kita di negara ini maupun secara global, dan kita akan ketemu sebagai community. Terima kasih.
Makasih Papa. Mbak Desri?
Dari saya cukup, Mbak Lisa, itu aja. Monggo silahkan untuk closing.
Maya.
Terima kasih buat semuanya yang hadir malam ini. Kita sudahi acara ini dan tunggu acara berikutnya bulan depan dengan topik yang juga menarik lagi yang lainnya. Mungkin dari Mbak Ines?
Terima kasih Mbak Lisa. Mungkin malam ini just a short closing. Thank you very much for the time for Pak Paulus, Moara, and Nathan. Thank you very much, and I hope it will be very good for our mentee to know to get the knowledge from your experience. Thank you. Cukup, Mbak Lisa.
Oke, terima kasih semuanya Pak Paul dan also Moira. Mbak Ines juga terima kasih sudah bergabung dan juga teman-teman yang sudah join malam ini. Nantikan info dari kami di bulan depan akan ada sharing session juga dari masterclass dan juga STEM Ambassador. Jadi tetap stay tune di grup ya. Terima kasih semuanya. Selamat malam, selamat istirahat. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat malam, terima
Good
kasih.
day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.